What's up? I'm Big Bob. Special guest today. What's up, Big Bob? Name of our podcast. I have a very special guest, but before I introduce him, I want to give our special shout out to Brenda Ringwood, who's our executive producer and the founder of Becoming a Better You Foundation, which I have dedicated a lot of time and energy to helping support. Today's guest, Deron Cherry. Now, for those of you who live in Kansas City and around the rest of the world, Deron Cherry is a very successful businessman. He has carved out a huge business here in Kansas City, very successful. Probably everybody knows and has heard of the business that he promotes. What you might not know about Deron Cherry is one of the most single accomplished football players to ever play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, most people think that's who you are, former football player. I see you as a hugely successful businessman who just happened to get to where he is because of some football connections.
That's true.
All right. Now I'm going to have to coach him to speak a little louder because our recorded probably might not even hear some of the stuff he's talking about.
I got you, Bob.
Thank you very much, brother. Let's start at the beginning. You grew up in Jersey.
Right?
Where?
In a little town called Palmyra, New Jersey, right across the bridge from Philadelphia, northeast Philadelphia.
Uh-huh.
And went to school there, high school, Palmyra High School.
Did you
Small school.
Did you play sports?
I did play sports in high school, played football, basketball, and baseball.
Those are the three sports everybody
That's right.
played.
Everybody played one season into the next.
Absolutely. I did the same thing, but I played four
Oh.
in high school.
And what was the other
Baseball and tennis.
one? Oh, okay. All right.
Got to college, I played three.
I played two in college.
Football and
Baseball for me.
let me take a guess. I think you were an outfielder.
No, shortstop.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it because of your range, quickness?
Yeah. That played third base too, played second base.
Hot corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comes at you fast.
Yeah.
All right. And you went to Rutgers.
Rutgers, yes.
So you were not a below average student.
No, not to get in there.
No.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. My brother had actually went to school there, got a scholarship to play football. He was there before me, a year before me, and then I wound up going to school there too as well.
Back in that day, recruiting's a lot different than it is today.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was definitely recruited. I mean, I got recruited, took some trips, some visits, and wound up going to University of Minnesota.
All right.
For a visit, and they didn't wind up not offering me a scholarship. But the interesting thing was my host that weekend was a guy by the name of Tony Dungy.
No shit.
Yes.
What was this before? What is it? Winfield? Dave, he was a gopher, right? Center fielder for the Yankees.
Yeah, Dave Winfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. You know who else went to school there was Bobby Bell.
Bobby Bell.
Yeah.
Can he still take a quarter out of your hand?
Oh yes, absolutely. Bobby's a legend up there.
He's a legend here too.
Yeah. So I remember, that visit very, like it was yesterday. And it's funny that we were talking about Tony Dungy. My roommate from college called me today and said he was at a FCA banquet in New Jersey last night and wind up, Tony was a guest speaker. So he called me and said, yeah, Tony wanted me to tell you he's going to give you a call and catch up. So
what a great motivator.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Quality.
So we kind of stayed in touch. And then when I got into the league and when Marty Schottenheimer came here to coach, he was on his staff.
You jumped ahead. Yes, he was. You jumped ahead. You weren't drafted.
No.
Why?
I don't know. There's sometimes that people make mistakes. Bob.
What,
Oh
what,
no, they don't do that,
what
do
was
they?
it? Was it because it wasn't a powerhouse college?
At the time, Rutgers was doing some pretty good things. We were an independent, so we were playing a lot of big competition. I mean, when I was in college, we played Penn State and West Virginia and
Pitt?
played Alabama,
Did you play
played
Pitt?
Tennessee, played Pitt. So we played a very competitive schedule, and it's one of those things you just never know.
Were you all conference?
I was all conference, all
And
East.
all East?
I was an MVP of my team. I was a captain of my team. And I guess being at Rutgers, it was a great experience because
What
we
did you
had some good
study?
team. I studied biology. I was a biology major. Believe it or not. Biology and nutrition, and with the
You could have gone and
idea
become a
that
doctor.
my
You
plan
take
was
some
to go.
chemistry, you become a doctor.
Well, I didn't even have to take chemistry. My plan was to go to dental school, and that's what I went to school for. And I wound up getting a call on the second day of the draft from Kansas City, and at that time, my defensive coordinator at Rutgers had left Rutgers and went and took a job with Marv Levy. He was the head coach for Kansas City at the time, and he wound up calling me and said, "Hey, we're looking for a punter." And I said,
See, nobody
"Okay."
knows that. Very few people know
Yeah.
that about you. Did you ever punt for the Chiefs?
No. The time that I would have punted for the Chiefs was in my 9th year. The next to the last game of the season, we were playing here in Kansas City against the Chargers, and there was a reverse. And of course, when you have a reverse, somebody's getting fooled, and it happened to be Neil Smith. He got fooled, and he doubled back. I came up to make the tackle on the guy, which I made the tackle, but he dove and missed the guy and hit me right in my knee and tore my anterior cruciate ligament.
This is your 9th year in the
This is
season.
my 9th year.
But
It
you
was the
ended up
next to
playing-
the last game of the season. So I wind up having to get surgery. So I didn't play the last game. Their last game was in Miami at the end of the year against
Right.
the Dolphins. And it just happened to be that the punter was Kelly Goodburn, pulls a hamstring
Oh, shit.
in warm-ups.
And you would have been.
And I would have been.
You would have been.
I would have been.
So Reed did it. Reed's done it in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Kickoffs
and extra
safety.
points.
Right.
Yeah. I would have been the punter. And it wind up that Nick Lowry had to do those jobs because I was gone.
Did you practice punting?
Oh, yeah. All the time. Every week.
With special teams or on your own?
Special teams practice all the time.
For worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. I was actually the backup quarterback too.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
So do you remember?
Who was
you
on
remember
the
the game? Stephon Page.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Great,
the name.
right?
Great receiver.
Right.
Stephon in a game against the Chargers had broke the record for a single season.
What was
309 yards.
So we were punting.
Yep.
Going
Punting.
back. Okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about Page. You're talking about Page had 309 yards.
Oh, yeah. Stephon Page, 309 yards receiving in the game, which he broke the record for the most in one game. But prior to that, both our quarterbacks, Bill Kenny, I think Todd Blackledge, both of them got hurt in the game. I know. Both of them got hurt in the game. And we're in the fourth quarter now. Stephon needs, I think it was like 5 yards or something to break the record. And I'm on the sideline literally taking snaps because I was going to have to go in the game.
And throw him 5 yards.
Well, I wouldn't have thrown. I would have just basically been in there to hand off.
Right.
Because they probably wouldn't have trusted me to throw a 5-yard out pass to him. Right?
Right.
And
not at that level. But you know what?
Enough,
5-yard pass is an easy fight.
Right,
you can do a 5. Even you could have done a 5-yard pass.
So eventually, one of the quarterbacks was healthy enough to play and came back in the game and threw the pass to him. He breaks the record.
Backup quarterback, backup punter. How many years did you go to the Pro Bowl?
6.
6 years of Pro Bowl.
6 years.
So you're as well decorated
Mhm.
as, and you never thought you'd even make it in the league, let alone
Right.
make a real career out of it.
Yeah, when you come in as a free agent punter and you wind up being a all-pro safety for a number of years, I mean, you don't dream of that. That's stuff that, it's like a storybook,
American dream.
That's right. And I mean, I give a lot of credit Ted Cottrell, who was my coach in college, that convinced them to sign me, but more importantly, Marv Levy, who believed in me enough to give me a chance to come back in and work at the safety position.
How long until you started seeing the field?
Well, I saw the field right away. I mean, my story is crazy because when I came back for training camp that year, I asked Coach Levy to bring me back in, let me play safety, and so he did. And I made it all the way through. Now, that year they drafted 3 safeties. Lloyd Burris was one of them.
Oh, shit.
Right. And then they had 2 other guys one was a 5th-round draft pick, another one was a 7th-round draft pick. And, so I watched them in minicamp, and I go, man, if these guys got drafted, I mean, I know I can play in the league if these guys are getting drafted.
And I've always thought the squad that you were part of might have been the best squad we've ever had.
Yeah, we had great defense, and we had great players.
Yeah.
When you look at it on the defensive side, we had some really incredible guys.
You had the edge. I mean, you had the best tandem in the edge.
Yeah.
Who was the inside linebacker?
So in the inside, we had, when I started, was Jerry Bland and Gary Spaney, believe it or not. You remember Gary Spaney?
He was old. Was he all old when you started?
Well, he was a little bit old, not too old. We played for a number of years together. Jerry Bland and we played a number of years together. And then Dino Hackett came in. Remember Dino Hackett?
What a great overachiever.
Yeah, he was a great player, though.
Overachiever.
Tough as nails.
Really?
Yes.
Who was the hardest hitting guy in your staff, on your team? Give me the top 5.
Top 5 hardest hitting guys?
Yeah.
Well, I like to think I was in.
I always thought you were.
But then I'd say a guy like Kevin Ross.
Yep.
Pound for pound, there was nobody that did it better. Lloyd Burris. Listen to me. I'm calling out all these secondary guys, right? Because I know they were hitters. Dino Hackett was another guy.
Right.
And who else can I say? Who
were the tackles back then?
Oh, wow. Tackles were, 2 defensive ends, and we had a nose tackle. So you got Bill Moss, who was in the middle.
Okay, Moss. But
and then
we're not mentioning the outside guys.
The ends, Mike Bell, Art Still.
Really?
Yes. Art Still should be in the Hall of Fame.
He should be.
No question.
One of the great, I mean, he could have been all pro at a bunch of sports.
And then when Art and them left, then we wind up bringing in, signed a guy from Nebraska named Neil Smith. And then right after that, we got a guy by the name of Derek Thomas. I see his picture all over here.
Well, just one.
Place. Yeah,
just one piece.
One big one.
Yeah. That was back when it was Okoye. Was it
Christian Okoye?
Okoye left, right. Okoye left, Corey right, and
yeah.
Schottenheimer believed in defense.
Yeah, defense. That was
ferocious.
Yeah.
Ferocious.
Yeah.
It really
Let
was.
Defense win games for you. But you got to score points in this league too.
Well, the game's changed a little bit.
It has changed.
Right? It's nobody's going to run the ball 35 times.
Yeah, we ran the ball a lot.
Right.
A lot.
We intimidate. I think your teams were built to intimidate other teams.
Yeah, they were. That was his style of play. He was a guy that believed strongly in defense. And you know who the coaches were that year?
Yeah, no, but you could give me all Hall of Famers.
Wow, you're right. 2 of them.
Yep.
Tony Dungy 1.
Right.
Bill Cowher 2.
Right.
Then you got Schottenheimer.
Right.
Then you got a guy by the name of Howard Mudd, who was the line coach.
Offensive, right.
Yep. Joe Pendry was the running backs coach.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. So I don't get to talk to a lot of guys who are in the locker room,
Mhm.
right? I'm speculating, and I'm just looking for a nod and a smile, or nope, you're way off base. I thought Marty Schottenheimer was one of the great motivators of all time.
I give you.
All right, hold on. So my first year with him, I'm ready to run through a brick wall for him. He's got me so fired up. I just want to crush everything in front of me. 16 weeks, 15 weeks, whatever your season was back then, I'm ready to go. Right? Second year, okay, let's go play football. But after a while, I've heard that speech before. That's a spinoff of what he said 2 years ago. And it starts losing the fire. The message wasn't quite as intense because you've heard it before. And I'm speculating he might have lost his teams because his material was redundant.
Marty was a stubborn coach.
Right.
And so in his stubbornness, he always did it his way. And his way was the only way. It didn't matter. And so you had to either get on board with that or not. And there were a lot of guys that wouldn't get on board with it. So I think when you're correct when you talk about the message getting stale,
And
a lot
talking
of
about
guys
old
didn't.
school, he was about as old school as they ever come.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough. I played for him in 2 Pro Bowl games, and both times, we're in Hawaii. You're going on vacation, right? You're supposed to just enjoy the week.
It's almost tag football.
Well, it wasn't back then because you're playing for, a little bit of extra money.
Okay.
And, back then it was a real game. It wasn't like it grew into the last 10 years. It's not flag
football anymore.
No, not flag football.
What do you think of flag football?
Yeah. Shit. But he was tough on it. So even over there, I mean, it's like, guys were like, man, we see the NFC players and they would just have their helmets and shorts and going out to practice and we're in full pads. And, he had us out there hitting. We're going like, man, is this guy crazy or what?
He's taking guys on vacation.
Yeah. And he's
already climbed
us
to the top of the mountains and
And-
said,
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, we won both of those games over there, got a little extra money in our pockets, and we were happy. But I mean, we didn't like the fact that we had to work so hard for it.
you played against all the receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You played against all the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to have had Marino as a teammate?
Oh, absolutely.
I was screaming at the TV.
Yeah.
I was at Pitt for a couple of years. I was screaming at the TV.
Yeah.
Please take him
That would have changed Kansas City
forever.
Now we've seen what that guy can do. That can change a franchise forever.
How good is he?
He's great. That's Mahomes. There's
No, come on, no, really, just between us. How good is he?
There's they talk about generational talents.
Right.
Marino was one. Elway was one. Montana. You can go down the list.
There's always been somebody.
There's always somebody.
Right.
This guy,
Better than all.
He's better than them all.
He's better than Brady.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. When he first came out, they said, we want him to be like Favre. I'm going, God, I hope not.
No.
Brett Favre was a cowboy.
I think what they wanted him to be was to be himself, like he was in college.
This is what.
And give Andy credit for designing a system around his strengths.
I believe one of Andy Reid's greatest strengths is he takes a round peg and he creates the round hole for you. Instead of putting you in his square peg hole, he creates the round hole just for you.
Yeah.
And he does that for 15, 20 athletes.
Mm-hmm.
He says, we're going to design our system around what you do best.
Yeah.
And it could change every year, every week,
Yeah.
because for us to be successful, you don't have to necessarily do it my way. You have to do it the best way that fits you.
Yeah.
And I think that's his genius.
And the situations. I mean,
right.
This team has won 3 Super Bowls 3 different ways.
Right.
With multiple different personnel changes to the roster.
Totally different offenses.
Right. And so, when you think about that, you give the coach a lot of credit because he's designing a lot of things, but give the quarterback credit too, because he is the leader. He's the guy that makes it go, and he's got to be able to adjust. And we've seen him adjust.
You're a whole lot older than he is.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you've met him. You sat
Yep.
down and talked to him. I'm going to guess, because I never met him. He sits there and says, "Mr. Cherry." He honors who you were, what you did, your maturity, your success, and doesn't say, "Look at me, I'm Pat Mahomes."
He's very respectful. And any time I've asked Pat to, do something for my charity or whatever, he's always been there. He's always signed a jersey, signed whatever, and
great citizen.
Been great. Now
great citizen.
We had the same representation. Lee Steinberg represented me. He was the one
Really?
who represented him.
How the hell did you get Lee to represent you when you're a free agent with no nothing?
Yeah, nothing. I met Lee. Actually, Ronnie Lott introduced me to Lee.
There's another great name.
Yes, in Hawaii at a Pro Bowl, and wound up spending some time with him and said, "Hey, how would you like to represent me?" And that's when it started back then. Great man.
He changed football.
Oh, he did.
I mean, from the outside in, he changed football.
Yes, he did.
He made you guys a lot of money.
Well, he made those quarterbacks a lot of money.
Well,
he didn't necessarily make us a lot of money.
Oh, we're going to get
position
how much.
players.
We're going
those
to talk.
Quarterbacks.
We're going to talk about how much money you're making
was
now.
way
You're
ahead
making
of time.
quarterback
He was
money
way
now.
ahead of time.
All right. Did you retire because you wanted to retire? Did you retire because you were past your prime?
No, I retired. I wanted to retire on my terms,
Right.
not somebody else's. No, I could have played probably another 3 years.
Wait, you were what, 33?
32.
32.
Yeah.
Huh. A lot of guys who retired 32 probably saying, "But I want more. I want more."
Yeah, I mean, I could have played more, but I decided that I wanted to make a transition and have been preparing for it into the business world.
What was your off-season preparation?
Oh, wow. Shoot. Off season, as far as
getting ready for life after football.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, I used to, I met with a lot of people. One guy I used to meet with all the time,
yes,
right?
That's how we met.
That's right. That's right. And so I had a lot of mentors, a lot of people that I could go to. I mean, there's a lot of times on my days off, you get these business cards from people and they're in different areas of business. And I call them up and say, "Hey, you want to go to lunch? Let me just
Deron Cherry, Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, calling me up and saying, "Do you want to go for lunch?" Whoever said no.
Right.
Nobody
said no.
Nobody said no.
And especially when it's free.
Right. And I'm buying.
Yeah. And just sat down and picked their brain. Because I didn't know, halfway through my career, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, everybody thinks about they want to go into broadcasting and doing stuff like that.
You're not pretty enough. You got a nice voice for radio. You got a nice face for radio.
So you think about that and you go, "Wow, man, I got to do something," because this is not going to last forever.
Right.
And then, when year 9 came and I got injured, I mean, that almost, stepped up the expediency of exiting out of football because it's not going to last forever. And it's you're either going to get hurt or the team's going to come and say, you're old, you don't have it anymore. We don't want you here. And you get to a point where you got to say, "Hey, the handwriting's on the wall. What are you going to do?"
I got to believe starting your career with one team and leaving on your terms, what a great high.
Oh my God, it's the best thing that you could ever do.
I mean, some of these guys end up playing their last season or 2 seasons for somebody else and saying, "I feel like a prostitute."
Right.
I was doing it just for the money.
I was very fortunate to be able to play for one team my whole entire career and be able to retire here. And
I only met him a couple of times, but Lamar Hunt.
Oh man, can't say enough about it.
Right.
what a genuine class guy. I mean,
Right.
there's
And
nobody.
Carl might not be in the same class, but I think Carl did a lot to change the face of football
Oh
in
yeah,
Kansas City
he
with
did.
the parking lots and
Oh
the
yeah,
tailgating.
tailgates.
He made that happen.
Yeah, him and Tim Conley, when they both came in that year, really changed Arrowhead for the better in the whole atmosphere for the Chiefs. The unfortunate thing I feel for Carl is that he didn't get a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Right. Well, a lot of them did.
Right. But what he did business wise for the organization was incredible.
How often do you go out to games?
Go to a lot of games.
Do you really?
Almost every game.
Whose suite are you sitting in?
Nobody's sweet.
You're not.
I have my own season tickets. We have.
Come on.
I've got 12 season tickets out there, and we have 6 on club, 6 down on the 50-yard line.
Do you ever have trouble filling up the seats?
No.
Well, if you do, give me a call.
No, not at all.
It's funny. I don't like going to the stadium anymore.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of reasons. One, too crowded, too much. But the main reason is fans don't know anything about football. and they're arrogant and they're ignorant. And it's arrogance and ignorance is such a nasty, ugly combination. And so many of the fans at Arrowhead, football fans in general, I find to be ignorant, right? Opinionated.
Well,
and they don't know what they're talking
about. That's why they call them fans.
Right. But see, I'd rather sit home, watch it on TV.
Yeah. Well, there's sometimes I'll tell you when it gets really, really cold out, I'm not the guy.
So you're a warm weather fan.
I'm not a warm weather fan. I mean, I'll stick it out, but if it gets 20 below, that ain't for me.
What year was the Indianapolis playoff game where it was like minus?
Oh yeah, that was like 1990. I want to say 4 or 5.
That might have been some of the coldest I've ever.
Oh, that was one of the coldest games I've ever.
I remember I was a grad assistant at Northwestern, and I remember one day it was like that cold, but I'm standing on the sideline, not moving, just watching practice. We had 2 layers of everything, 3 layers of some, and it was just nasty.
I played in a game my rookie year in Minnesota at the end of the year.
That was before the dome.
That's before the dome. It was outside.
Right.
And I grew up back on the East Coast, and my NFC team was like the Vikings.
Right.
We had that little toy electric football set.
Uh-huh.
And that was my traveling team was the
Vikings.
Electric, we painted,
right.
The guys are moving.
Right.
And I painted the Vikings. So I really, that was my team, and they would play the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. I hated Dallas. Still to this day, I do not like the Cowboys.
I coach. My whole thing is, and we'll talk about it. I had a chance if I turned left instead of right in my lifetime, I would have been a coach at the Cowboys.
Wow. But yeah, the Minnesota was my team, and here I was growing up watching them, and here my rookie year, the last game of the year, I get to go play in that stadium, and I go out, get there early because I wanted to take it all in, and it was actually the last game being played at Metropolitan Stadium. Right. Okay. They were going to tear it down right after the game. And I go in early, and I can swear to you that the same guy that I watched in those NFC Championship games, going up and down the field with the frame, heating the field up, I saw that guy there that day, and it's just crazy because it's one of the old school where both teams are lined up on the same sideline together. I'm here, and you're the Viking player right there. I could reach out and touch you, and man, it was so cold that day, and we didn't have any, back then you didn't have any heated, benches.
Right.
So the heated bench was one of the old wooden benches that they had when you played in high school.
Blankets on it.
And they had some aluminum ductwork that went down. They had slits every so often, and they took a heater on one end and blew the heat through. That was the heated bench.
All right. Football's great. I can talk to you football forever.
Yeah.
But that's in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about now and how you got from playing football to what you got today? Because as accomplished as you were in football, I think what you've accomplished since football is a whole lot more impressive.
Yeah. You start with a plan. Everybody starts with a plan,
What
right?
was the plan? Make
my
money?
plan was to I took some good advice from Uncle Izzy and Gene Pereira. I spent a lot of time with them at the bank, and those guys used to always tell me, Deron, save your money,
Right.
put it away, because when there's an opportunity that comes, you guys, you need the cash, and you need to be able to do it. And actually, they told me, Gene mentioned to me that, hey, there's a guy that's got a Budweiser distributorship, and he may need some help. Maybe he'll want to partner with you. So I called the guy up, and I'm not going to mention his name, but the guy cussed me out on the phone and said, what have you ever done? But yeah, whatever. Who the heck you think you are? The only thing you've ever done is just take money from Lamar Hunt. And I just go, okay, all right, I got you. And then it wasn't probably a couple months later where Anheuser-Busch had terminated them. And
surprise.
So they kind of opened it up for.
Was it a bid?
Yeah, it was a bid type of thing. They kind of opened it up for different organizations. Like you put together your team, and then you let them know, and then all of a sudden they would call you. If they were interested, they call you, and I think they had interviewed like 75 different groups.
Right.
And
I got two big questions.
Mm-hmm.
Was it before your partnership with the Jags?
Yes.
Was it because you were minority owned and operated that you got to the front of the line?
No, I think it was because, well, first of all, it started off with the Anheuser-Busch deal and going through that whole process, and they were looking.
You got to tell people why are we talking about Bush? He owns the Kansas City distributorship for Budweiser.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
He owns general manager, managing partner for the distributor of Budweiser beer in Kansas City. And that also includes Bud Light. And we'll get around to talking about Bud Light in a moment.
Yeah. We may not want to talk about
Bud I want to hear that Bud Light story. Right.
But it started with Anheuser-Busch and going through that whole process, which was interesting.
Did they tear apart every part of your life, examine everything?
Oh, they did. They did because you had to. Number one, they were looking for somebody that had a college education, not necessarily had experience in the beer business, because they could put you together. Right. They could teach you.
You need somebody who's bright enough
right.
that can learn.
And you need somebody that's an advocate in your corner. Right. And over the years, I have been doing so many different charitable things and events, and you meet a lot of people. And I happened to meet a guy by the name of Nick Pizzichino, who's the owner of County Beverage in Lee Summit.
Who were your references on your resume?
Oh God, I had a ton of.
Was it a who's who?
Well, it was a who's who. I even put Lamar Hunt down, and
of course,
and I put Gene Pereira down, and then I think I put a guy by the name of who was my fourth one. I think it was either Frank Moley.
Okay, Moley Chevrolet.
Yeah,
right.
And good so I had some good references, but they do their background checks. That's the thing. They understand what you're doing, and I think what I had done in the community of Kansas City up until that point, people knew me. And like I said, you have to have advocates. You have to have people who are mentioning your name when you're not in the room. And I had that in Nick Pizzichino.
Your reputation
right.
has always been solid,
right.
smart, hardworking, honest. I mean, your reputation after 40 years in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Maybe longer than that.
Is impeccable.
Yeah.
I mean, you've never been caught doing anything where they got to put your face on the front page of the paper.
No.
You're as close as squeaky clean as anybody I've ever met.
Yeah. But I had, like I said, you have people who are advocating for you.
All right.
And so Nick Pizzichino was my advocate, and he had a friend by the name of Tom Sobey, who was the VP of wholesale development for Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
And, him and Nick were real close. They worked at the branch downtown Kansas City.
So you walk in. What's your job day one?
Oh, God. Day one was interesting. So here was the deal. So when they finally awarded me the opportunity.
Do you come in as a minority, majority, managing partner?
I came in as majority partner. And the way it was crazy because we were negotiating that summer before my last year.
Right.
And up until like 2 weeks before the start of training camp, I had no idea what we were going to do. They hadn't offered it to me. They hadn't said anything. Right. And basically, originally, when they eventually came to me and said, hey, we want to choose you to take over, I told them no. Because
training camp was starting?
Yeah, because it was a couple weeks before training camp, and I was getting prepared to go, and they were wanting me to come in, take over the marketplace, and turn it around.
Did they not know who the hell?
Well, I said, like
wait
I told
December, we're on the playoffs.
Well, I told them, I said, look, here's the deal. You want me to turn this market around. You're going to make me look like the bad guy because now I'm going to leave the team hanging 2 weeks before start of training camp. They got to go find somebody to replace me.
You got to do it before the draft.
You can't do that because then all the backlash is going to come on me, right? And that's not going to be good for you, or it's not going to be good for your business. And surely I'm going to be making X amount of dollars this year that I don't want to give up.
Wait. They did not realize this without you putting in their nose into this little pile?
No, they just, you got a company that's is strong, huge, strong as Anheuser-Busch, and then you've got,
little you.
Right, little me, who I care. Like, do you know, like, everybody wants one of these things, And I go, I understand that, but also you got to understand something like this. You're going to make me look like
you're the heel,
right?
You abandon the
and
team.
I don't mind doing something, but I'm not going to just walk away from a responsibility.
Retire the day after your last game and say, I'm all yours.
So I told them no, hung up the phone. 45 minutes later, they called me back and said, hey, we got it worked out. I go, well, what do you have worked out?
They'll manage it for 6 months until the season's over.
So Nick wind up servicing the territory, and then my partner Jim Brooks and I wind up going starting in October. Jim came earlier, but then during the season, I would go down on my days off, and any other day I had a day off. Oh yeah,
NFL players don't get days off anymore.
Usually Tuesdays, Mondays, late. You come in late. Tuesdays your day off, and Tuesdays I go down to the office and I, be interviewing folks, and Jim and I be talking, getting the business set up, and did that for the whole year. And then we played, and we had a playoff game here in Kansas City against the Raiders. I had 2 interceptions that game. It was my last home game in Arrowhead.
That's when the rivalry was.
Mm-hmm. The Raiders.
Right.
And then the next week we went to Buffalo and we got beat in Buffalo. I came in Monday, got my physical, and we opened up our doors that Monday. And I was there working.
Did you start out at the big desk?
Started out at the big desk.
How long have you been doing that?
We've been doing it 33 years now.
Are you going to retire?
Oh, no.
I mean, is it?
There's no need for me to retire. Yes, eventually I'll retire.
You'll slow down.
Yeah, I'll slow down. Yeah, slow down. But I enjoy it. I love it. Jim has since retired, my partner, and now his son is in there with me, and we have a great time, get along. I mean, I've never been more blessed in my life to have 2 partners that we agree on everything and don't have to argue about anything. And
there's got to be some push and
there's push and pull, but for the most part, I mean, we agree, on pretty much everything.
Well, the bottom line is the bottom line.
Right.
I mean, let's get there as fast as we can.
That's right.
Get rid of the bullshit.
And, we've got a business that, it's
How much
going
has it
good.
grown?
It's let's say we've grown volume wise. We haven't grown as much, but profitability wise, we've grown. You know, we have no debt. We're all bought and paid for. So that's a good thing because over those years we labored hard and we didn't take huge salaries or anything like that. We were just, hey, let's pay this off. And in the meantime, we've acquired some brands like Constellation, which is Modelo and Corona, and those
Good
brands.
names.
Good names. Great
How many
products.
employees?
We have close to about 50 employees.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Most of them truck drivers.
Drivers, salespeople. We have some folks that work in the office.
Is there a lot of turnover?
You know, recently there's been some turnover, but for the most part, we've really had people there with us long term.
So if somebody wanted free samples, how do they get free samples?
Bob, you want free samples?
No.
So you got that red shirt
Yeah,
on, that
yeah,
Budweiser, right?
Right. No, Chiefs.
Yeah.
No, really, it's a Big Bob color.
Yeah.
I was teasing. So what brands besides Bud do you have?
So Budweiser, and then like I say, Constellation. We have Goose Island brands out of Chicago. We have Deschutes out of Bend, Oregon. We have Kona out of Hawaii. We have KC Beer, which is a local craft beer here. We distribute them. We've got Elysian, which is out of Portland.
Would you do wine?
We haven't done wine.
Have you
We've
thought
done a
about it?
little bit of wine in cans, little
Right,
cans,
right.
and Babe wine. We distributed that for a period of time. I don't know. We've looked at some other brands. So you know the big thing, non-alcoholic brands we have right now. Some energy drinks that we distribute.
Right. I got a possibility for you.
What's that?
Cannabis infused.
Oh yeah. We've looked at that. You know, there's a lot of people looking at that cannabis infused
After
THC.
after this turns off,
Yeah.
maybe I can turn you on to something.
We've looked at it, you know, until we've always thought that until the state of Missouri does something from a regulatory standpoint,
Right.
and we're working on that right now with the state, you know, we haven't really dove headfirst into that.
All right. Married.
Yes.
First, second, third.
Second.
All
I ain't
right.
doing it no more.
I can't afford it. Children.
Yes.
How many?
5.
5 kids.
Yes.
Ages.
One's 39, will be 40 in May. I've got one that's 27. Another one's 23. I got a daughter who's
Wow.
getting ready to turn 21, and then I have a 12-year-old.
How many chose to come to business with you?
0 right now. I've got one works for KU, and then I have one that works at the Federal Reserve Bank downtown, here in town. And then another one works at Owings Lumber
Here in town.
here in town. And then my daughter, she's in school. She just got her medical assistance license. So she's doing well
Here in town.
here in town.
Wait. That might be your single greatest accomplishment. Keeping all your kids here.
Oh yeah.
Do you know
we're-
why? So you can grow old with your
Right.
grandchildren.
Right. So we you know, we have a good family, big family on my wife's side. So we get together quite a bit. So it's been great.
All right. Do you like it when people recognize you in public?
Sure, everybody does. I mean, I love it because I love people. And I've always said, you know, you treat people how you want to be treated. You know, my mom always told me, you know, she used to get me when I was in high school. Back in the high school days when you thought you were bigger than you know what. I was a quarterback in high school and you know, I had a lot of success. And she goes, "Hey, I'm just going to tell you something." She goes, "You're no different than anybody else.
No.
And you better hope that and pray that you have an attitude that when you're climbing up the ladder, you're bringing people with you. Because when you fall, you want them people to catch you."
Love that. I love that.
Yeah.
When you fall, you want the people to
That's
catch you.
right.
You still work out?
Every now and then.
Weights or cardio?
Cardio, a lot of walking, bicycling. My knees, I had knee replacement surgery. I had an ACL replacement on one.
So
Again, look, I like to play golf, dude. That's my sport. When it comes that time of the year, I'm all in.
when I watch football today, right before a collision, I'm tensing up.
Are you tensing up?
Do you still tense up to make?
No. I like to dish the hits out, man. I love it when I see somebody
but
get hit.
I'm tensing up to make the contact.
Yeah.
Not to take the contact.
Mm-hmm.
I tense up like I'm about to make contact.
Yeah. You know, I tell you, when it became really real to me, just how physical that game is, it wasn't until after I retired and I was down on the sideline,
right,
watching the game at field level,
right,
and then you get a really good opportunity to see the collisions that go on, the speed,
the size of those
and
men.
then you think about, I did this for 11 years,
right,
and I'm coming up here hitting these running backs and dealing with guys like Christian Okoye and Barry Word in practice, hitting them, and it's.
How about Earl?
Oh yeah, I tell people this story all the time. Earl Campbell, my first Pro Bowl game, he was on my team, and I walk into the locker room and I see this guy, and it's like you're looking at. You can imagine somebody, for me, because of my faith, it'd be like me meeting Jesus Christ in the flesh and just being like totally in awe of this man. Seeing Earl Campbell when I was a player and you're seeing this guy, and I mean, his legs were this big, and I'm going like, who made a human being to be like this?
I heard stories that he used to walk into opposing room's locker room before the game with his sanitaries on so they could get a glimpse of his legs before he put the pads on.
Yeah. Can you imagine going up there hitting that dude every?
No.
I can't even fathom,
there's not
a guy that big.
It wasn't just that he's that big. He's only 260. There's
a
lot of guys.
Big enough.
I mean, there's a lot of guys.
His legs were huge.
But he had a vicious attack mode.
Yeah.
That Henry's big, Henry's fast, but he ain't Earl Campbell.
Nobody. There's only one Earl Campbell.
Nobody ever, non-football people don't give him as much homage as they should.
Well, I do, because I've seen him, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, those guys, amazing.
See, I'm a huge Barry Sanders fan. I had Barry Sanders up there. I took it down. Kirk Gentry is the guy who got me into football. But I'm a huge Barry Sanders fan. I'm a huge Sweetness fan.
Mm-hmm.
To
me too.
To me, those guys were not only wonderful human beings, but unbelievable magic on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Magic.
Well, you think of Barry, and here's a guy that walked away during his prime.
Well, you walked away during your prime.
Yeah.
The same age, right?
Yeah. It's amazing.
Right. What's your forecast for the Chiefs moving forward?
Well, I think they're going to continue to be competitive. I think the way they've lined everything up, every year they keep getting younger. If they can solve the offensive line issue, I think they're going to be competitive. I mean, let's face it, they've got younger players who are early on in their career, but now all of a sudden they're starting to move into a good prime of their year.
Right.
And they're not costing the team a whole lot of money just yet, but it's starting to get there.
The cap changed football.
Right. The cap changed football, but for the players, I'm not mad at them. Hey, whatever they can make, let them make it, because I can tell you this. I watch guys that can't even recognize who you are right now.
Right.
And it's sad.
Too many hits.
And some of them, their whole life has just been taken away from them because of the sport. I mean, we've seen all the tragedy and stuff that's in professional sports with
Right.
guys, doing some just crazy, uncharacteristic things. And I think about, guys like Dave Dorson, who I played, was my contemporary playing with him. He took his life. Junior Seau takes his life.
Right.
Even Javon Belcher, who was here in Kansas City, that killed his girlfriend and then went and shot himself. And you think about those things, and because you're a fraternity, you're a brotherhood.
There's not that many of you,
right? And you understand that people go through things, go through hurts, and you just try to reach out to many guys as possible just to make sure that they're doing okay and that they understand that now the league does, in some respects, have some resources available to players so that they can go get help if they need it.
That movie helped a little bit.
Yeah.
How many guys you stay in contact with?
Oh, a lot of guys. Yeah. We have our group here in Kansas City, the Ambassadors. And so we've got, I think we're up to 50 guys now.
Uh-huh.
And from all different eras.
Larry Marshall.
Yep. Larry Marshall. Yeah.
He's he goes back even before you.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bobby Bell, Jan
Right.
Stenerud, Mike Garrett's there,
Do the players today tolerate you, accept you?
No, they accept you. I think they accept and honor you because they realize that the only reason why they're playing right now and the reason why they're getting the big bucks is because those guys paved the way. Like for me, it was Bobby Bell and that whole generation that paved the way for me. Even though when I came into the league, my rookie year, I didn't make much money. I mean, my first year I made
80.
No, my first year I made $21,000. My second year I made 23.
Wait a second. But you got to remember, a school teacher was making less money than that.
Well, I understand that, but that's what I made. Right. So when people say, "Oh, you
millionaire,
made
you billionaires,"
then my third year, I think I signed a new contract for $75,000 and $85,000 worth of incentives, a 2-year deal. And then right after that, then I became that first year I made a Pro Bowl, made my incentives. The next year I made a Pro Bowl, made my incentives. And then I signed a new 4-year deal, which was, I think at the time, $1.2 million. It was.
Well, when did you save up the money to buy Bud?
Yeah. And then my final year, I wound up signing a pretty large contract. At the time, I was the highest paid safety in the league, but it was like $1.6 million. So that's what some of those guys make that in a game check right now.
They make that in the first quarter. I got to ask, really got to ask. I want to know about Bud Light.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
I'm not judging what happened there. How did it affect business?
Oh, it totally affected business. I mean, I think some people's business, you could go anywhere from 30 to 60%. And depending on where you are and where you were at, I mean, it's impacted us, quite honestly.
Is it still effective?
Oh yeah, it's still affected it. I mean, because I get into this thing and I get, there's people in business smarter than me, right? But one thing I do know, right? If you're a business owner and you're a leader of your company, you have to be transparent. When you make a mistake, you have to be honest, and just say, "Hey, we don't want to mess with your beer. That's sacred. People, that's between you.
Right.
We make beer for everybody, and we apologize. We're sorry. We don't want to tell you what to do. So, all you had to do was just, in my opinion, just say, "Hey, I'm sorry."
Bad choice.
That's it.
If you come out
and say you're sorry, people will respect you because everybody makes mistakes.
Absolutely.
Nobody is perfect. And when you humble yourself and say, "Hey, look, we made a mistake. That's it. But just give us another chance."
It's amazing because saying I'm sorry is some of the easiest words that ever come out of my mouth.
That's right.
I mean,
2 words.
I'm sorry. Hey, wasn't malicious.
Right.
Please forgive me.
But
can we move on?
But people respect you for that.
Right.
And so when you're thinking, when I think about what happened with Bud Light, you have to know who your core drinker is. And your core drinker is that
He
blue
ain't a
collar
trans.
person, right?
Right.
The people that, are working hard every day and, they're making ends meet. They're supporting their
The silent
families.
majority.
Right. And you have, when you make that mistake, you got to say, hey, look, we're sorry.
Right.
And when you don't do that, and then you say, okay, we're just going to move on, those people can drink anything else they want. They don't have to drink your product.
Nope.
And then when you don't apologize to them, what reason are you giving them to even go back and try your product again?
Best product. Great product.
So, I mean, I think
How much beer do you drink?
very little.
Right.
I like it occasionally,
You do
but
it
I
for
don't
taste,
drink.
taste, or when it's a
Mm,
hot day and you're
I tell you, when
like,
it's a hot day, there's
you're
nothing better
than
than
a
a
cold
cold
beer.
beer.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll
Besides yours, what's your favorite beer?
most of the time I'll drink Michelob Ultra.
Shh.
That's our
still
product,
right.
And then I'll drink Corona. I like Corona.
Right. With a little lime.
Lime,
Yeah.
definitely.
Right. You guys
Because
came
that
out
gives
with
me,
lime.
because
You came out
that
with
makes
a beer with
that
lime
makes
taste
right. That makes me feel like
on vacation.
that's right. I'm at the
Right.
beach.
The little umbrella
relaxing.
in your drink.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
It's good marketing. Good marketing.
Why do a lot of professional athletes stay here? Why do a lot
Oh
of
wow. Why wouldn't they want to stay here?
weather?
Yeah, but you can go. You
Vacation.
you can go on vacations, and then you figure if you say the weather, well, the weather is only bad 2 months out of the year.
Well, 2 in the winter, 6
Yeah.
weeks in the summer.
Yeah, but I love the summer. Shoot, you just go down to the lake.
Right.
You know.
So, is it because of the people?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's no question. I tell people wherever I go that Kansas City is the best kept secret.
Don't tell them.
I do.
Stop telling them we don't
I
want
do.
to move here.
I do. I tell people all the time is that you're not going to find, the quality of life, the cost of living. You can raise a family. You got kids that can get out and they can do whatever,
Right.
experience whatever. And for the most part, they don't have to worry about things. You got good schools. It's just a good place to raise kids. And it's, like I said, there's opportunities here. I mean, there's so many
It's an
opportunities. Look at
entrepreneurial
you.
capital. Yeah,
Look at
me.
you. Look at you. I remember when,
Yep. Right.
and look at where you've come.
Do you know, I started a business 40 some odd years ago
Mhm.
with a $15,000 investment. We've done over $1 billion in sales.
Mhm.
Only in America
Right.
can you take a dumb idea, work hard, get lucky, and be
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
I mean, you took the no-brainer approach. I
Yeah.
mean, how can you lose money selling beer?
Yeah.
Right? You can't lose money doing that.
Well, you can lose money making a big mistake, right?
Well, by the way, we're all just one bad mistake.
That's right. That's
a
true.
bad mistake, bad choice away from heartbreak and bankruptcy.
Yes. That's why we always have to be grateful every day for the blessings that God has given us.
That is my saying.
Understand that.
Thank you for my
Yeah.
service. How does it go? Service is the gift I give myself to honor my blessings.
Yeah.
So I'm not as involved with 15 different charities as you are.
Mhm.
And before you leave today, we're going to make it 16.
Mhm.
But I think service is what we're obligated to
Yeah.
do to honor your blessings.
Yeah.
I've
I
been
mean, that's
blessed,
why
you've been blessed.
I totally agree with that. I mean, my whole goal was, there were people who helped me along the way growing up. Actually, a janitor at my high school. I mean, people ask me all the time, say, why are you so involved in your community? I said, because there was a man by the name of Merrill Pratt, who was my janitor at the high school, that used to open up that gym for us to come in and play and get off the streets where we didn't have to worry about, somebody shooting us or whatever. And it didn't matter. He would always say yes. And knowing that he was going to have to go back and clean up that gym.
And he had to go to work when he didn't have to go to work.
Right.
He got up early when he could have been sleeping in. He's taking time away from his family to give to a bunch of kids.
So I always talk about Mr. Pratt because the things that I do is really to honor him because he gave me as a young kid an opportunity. And so I want to try and do that in my life, give people opportunities.
I would love to be a Mr. Platt. I'd love to be able to implant something on someone that
Mhm.
50 years later is still being honored and mentioned because somebody gave me a break.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I really do. Hey, brother, it has been an absolute pleasure. You
Thank
are
you,
an
Bob.
absolute superstar.
It's always good to be
Love
with you.
Is there anything you want to tell all 52 of my audiences?
Oh, 52 of them. Yeah. No, just hey, look me up on our Facebook, Deron Cherry Foundation.org. We have a lot of stuff going on. We support a lot of different charities that are out here in the Kansas City community, and we're happy to do so. So if you want to be a sponsor, you want to be a volunteer, we'll have a role for you. Trust me.
And you don't have to play golf.
That's right.
You don't have to play golf. There's a place for everybody on the golf course.
Yeah.
Not all of them get to carry clubs.
That's right.
Love you, brother. Be well.
Love you too, man.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Till next time. What's up, Big Bob?